Some of you may recall from my Travel Hard speech that I shared my favorite quote. Every man dies, but not every man really lives. Possibly with that quote in mind, my daughter Rachel bought me the book 50 Places to Paddle Before You Die. I was flipping through that book. I came across the Na Pali coast on Kauai. Beautiful 18-mile trip by kayak through the open Pacific. Sounded great. I started digging and I found this article on HuffingtonPost.com talking also about the Na Pali coast. The Kalalau Trail is hands down the most incredible hike in America. And the Kalalau Trail takes you to the Kalalau Valley, right in the middle of the Na Pali coast. It sounded wonderful. I decided this is one of those places I need to go to before I die. So I talked to Mary about it. She said, tropical vacation? I'm in. We booked tickets for early March a couple of weeks ago. And then I started doing a little more research. I found that the kayak trips don't start till April. I did a little more research and I found that the hike along the Na Pali coast requires a permit to go more than the first 2 miles. Well, every day I watched for a permit. No permits available. We already had our tickets, so we flew to Kauai. We stayed about here. And to get to this 18-mile roadless section, you can go around the west side of the island, or up the Waimea Canyon, or up the North Shore. And none of those really go into the Na Pali coast. But we thought we'd do our best to get there. Our first morning in our condo, we got up before 5. This was the view from the condo at sunrise. We got in our little rental Jeep, and we made our way to the Waimea Canyon Road, that middle road. Because at the end of the Waimea Canyon Road, there's a trail and a lookout that looks right down on the Kalalau Valley. I thought, hey, we might see this our first day, full day there. This is what we saw. The inside of a rain cloud. It wasn't bad enough that we couldn't see anything, but it was raining and making the clay very slippery on a ridge edge. What we did is we backtracked 5 miles, and instead we hiked down into the Waimea Canyon. Now I gotta admit, the Waimea Canyon was awfully pretty. It wasn't the Na Pali coast. So, we went down, same day, we made our way. We bounced on a 5-mile, pothole-filled kind of road, kind of trail that the park says have a 4-wheel drive for this. That's why we had a Jeep. And we made it to Holly Beach. Beautiful white sand, miles and miles of it, almost hardly any people. And this is actually the southern end of the Na Pali coast. But you can see that the rugged shoreline and the breaking waves would make it impossible for us to get to the Kalalau Valley from there. Well, the next day, Mary said, why don't we take a break from the Kalalau Valley and the Na Pali coast and go hang out on the beach? We went to Poipu, nice white sand, a rare Hawaiian monk seal was there. Beautiful snorkeling. We saw things like this rudderfish. In fact, we saw a whole variety of fish. And after snorkeling, we did a wonderful hike along a golf course and cliffs with more beautiful waves. But I still longed for the Na Pali coast. So the next day we decided to try the northern route. Our first stop was a wonderful lighthouse. It's a bird preserve too. All kinds of interesting seabirds flying by. And the waves on the North Shore are really big. They were crashing into the cliffs and bouncing off. And we got to the Kalalau Trail. We could do the first 2 miles As we made our way up the trail, it started to rain again, and the clay got quite slippery. It was a treacherous edge with pounding surf below, and one of us wanted to turn back. We at least made it to this lookout, and I could see somewhere down there was the Kalalau Valley calling to us. But I was okay with turning back because I knew that we had a cruise book, a Nepali Coast dinner cruise. Surely that would get us to the Kalalau Valley. That was just going to be in a few days. A few days went by, and we came around to the Nepali coast, and the waves got rather large, went up and down. And I was like, come on, we can make it, we can make it. But there was a couple, this was the boat next to us, by the way. There were a few waves that washed over it and just about, I think, knocked the people off that were on the bow, making the captain rather nervous. There was a couple other people inside throwing up. The captain decided, we have to turn around. Now, with great bravado, I thought about diving in and swimming those last few miles to the Kalalau. Mary convinced me. If this 65-foot catamaran couldn't make it, I probably wouldn't make it either. So instead, we turned around, found sheltered water on the south side of the island. We watched humpbacks. We watched the sun sink down into the Pacific. And as it did, I felt melancholy, knowing I was not going to make it to the Kalalau Valley this trip. But then I thought back on all the fun things that we did do, and I remembered the wise words of my grandpa, Curt Remington, when he said, always save something for the next trip. I thought, you know, I'm not dead yet, and I wouldn't mind another trip to Kauai. When I mentioned that to Mary, she said, I'm in. So if you're looking for a wonderful vacation destination, consider Kauai. And if you're lucky, maybe you'll get to see the Kalalau Valley on the Nepali coast.